Omaha tonight, Des Moines tomorrow. Tickets at jfcomedytour.com. Cannot wait to see you guys. Today we're going to talk about, you guys need to loosen up. I don't. I am free flowing through life on just a cloud of calmness because I do journal speak now. This is my whole thing. For you guys have heard in the past 2 episodes, I do the journal speak exercises. I let my crazy thoughts out, and I'm just perfectly calm. But you guys need to loosen up. Maybe I occasionally need to loosen up. Maybe I occasionally ruin my family's lives during the holidays. Like, we need to do this and we need to do that, and this was supposed to be magical and you guys weren't doing this. What I want to talk about today is the idea of whatever rules or principles are important to you, whatever have-tos and shoulds you have in your life about the way things should go. For example, for the holidays, you have to put up a Christmas tree. Come on, we're not like, you have to. It's not Christmas if you don't put up a Christmas tree. Or even on more serious matters, like with faith, you have to go to church, or you have to have a relationship with God. You have to be as good of a person as you can based on the rules of your faith. Or for those of you who are neat freaks, my house has to be clean. So all of these rules, these have-tos. I've been thinking about how we can let that ruin our lives a lot, and we need to loosen up. We need to realize that whatever rule system we're talking about, whether it is how you celebrate the holidays or whether it is how you practice your faith, all of this should be at the service of making you more alive, of having you more deeply encounter the human experience. Full disclosure, I'll just say, the way this came about, I'll just be honest, it was, I spent a lot of time thinking, why are American Catholics so crazy? Like, what is wrong with us? Like, why can't any Catholic influencer talk on the internet about being Catholic without being weird? Like, why? Because like, I know Mexican Catholics and they're just like doing it and they're just living their best lives. And like the Catholic grandmas that I know from Mexico, they're so animated with love of God, and they're just so animated with the life of Christ. And a lot of them are Guadalupanas. And man, I don't know if it was part of the Our Lady of Guadalupe apparition that whoever follows her becomes an amazing cook. But man, oh my gosh, you guys, you find a Catholic church that has a high Guadalupana population. Tell me that is not the best food that you have ever tasted in your whole life. So anyway, these, when you meet people who practice the Catholic faith from other countries, from kind of old world Europe or Mexico or South America, they're very much animated by God's love. But they're not weird about the rules all the time. And what bothers me about it is that I just, I'm pretty laid back about this. I just think that, the whole world should convert to Catholicism. And it's a mild annoyance to me that people don't convert to Catholicism, because then I have to hear their worldview. People talk on the internet with their horrible worldview that's internally inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense. I have to admit, the reason I'm going to have to go ahead and convert the entire world to Catholicism, it's for all the wrong reasons. It's so that they will stop annoying me if they just have the right worldview. But the problem is, first I have to clean up the Catholic ghetto, American Catholicism, because we're a very rules-obsessed group of people, and we put the cart before the horse. And you see these influencers who will they just brag about how they follow the rules as if that's what God becoming incarnate and dying for our sins and ascending to heaven and sending the Holy Spirit, as if that's what it was all about. He was like, man, I just want some people on the internet to be able to talk about how they follow these rules really perfectly. And like, they just never go outside of the lines. And I want them to check boxes like nobody has ever checked boxes before, because that's what a relationship with me is all about. It's like, check, I did this today and I didn't do that. But you see this in all areas of life. Again, for people who are very big on, let's say, having their house clean. Hard for me to imagine, but I've heard that this exists. There are kind of two ways to approach this. One is with a mentality where you are dominated by the rules. And so it's all about, you're just ruining the lives of everyone in your house. Like, you've got to do this. This cup can't be put on this table unless it's on the coaster that is shaped this way, because we have different coasters, and you can't have one drop of condensation from your glass, and you can't, this and this and that. And it's not a way of living that leads to a proliferation of life and love. A hot fire inside. How many minutes are we into this? What's that say?
6:30.
Oh, and it's already just, hit the hot fire insight button. We don't know how this podcast is free. I mean, we just can't figure it out. I've referenced before that I had such an interesting conversation with my relative who is a monk. He is the iconographer at Mount Angel Abbey in Oregon, Brother Claude Lane. He did the icon that is on the cover of the Ignatius Press Bible. And you're not supposed to brag about that, because he's like a monk. So he can't be like, yeah, that was me. Like, all these other fool iconographers thought they could step to me, but who got the cover? That's right. He can't do that. But I can do it for him. I am related to that monk. It's very cool. And he made it, oh man, just the best things in life are talking to monks over a glass of wine about philosophy. Another reason why you should all convert to Catholicism. Like, you guys are like living your boring non-Catholic lives, and I am like up at a monastery. Katlyn's been to Mount Angel, the beautiful hilltop monastery. You can see Mount Hood, snow-covered Mount Hood in the distance. And I'm talking about philosophy and life and the meaning of life and the universe and science and art with a monk, like wearing robes, and we're having a glass of wine. I mean, it's just sad. It's sad to me that people are living lives that don't involve this. But anyway, so I was at Mount Angel, beautiful, beautiful place, at this abbey, and we were talking, and he said, one of the ways that that the Holy Spirit is with something is there is a proliferation of life. It attracts life. And he said that's one of the ways in religious orders. So he is a Benedictine monk, but in Catholicism, you've probably heard of, we have a lot of different orders. We've got the Dominicans, the Franciscans, whatever. And there have been some orders that people tried to start, and they just didn't last. You just haven't heard of them, It would be like if I tried to start an order, like, yeah, Jen of Austin. You don't hear, their mission is to talk trash and contemplate who they hate and why. That might not be an order that like takes off, that you would have heard of like 1,000 years from now. And he was saying, like, one of the ways you kind of know if the Holy Spirit is really with an order is that it grows. There is more and more life. True love is the love of God. And whenever that kind of true love that is from God is present somewhere, it leads to more life. The most basic example is with a family. If a man and a woman love each other, then there's a baby. But quite literally, it's love leads to more life in that case. With a religious order that is truly founded on the love of God, the Holy Spirit is with it. Yeah, you'll see it growing. You will see it attracting life. Like every summer, we try to do this every summer. You guys need to do this. I don't care if you're Catholic or not. You've got to go up Mount Angel Abbey. They have a Bach festival and they have a St. Benedict festival in the summer. It is beautiful Oregon summer weather. They've got food vendors of all of these restaurants from around Portland. They have all sorts of wine to taste and beer, and then they brew their own beer so you can taste the monk's beer. It is life lived to the fullest. They have an incredible library there that was built by a very famous architect. And so you can go tour the library and have some beer that was brewed by the monks. And I mean, it's just life lived to the fullest. And it attracts people from the community. So there are a lot of people there, and not just Catholics. It's like randos, from the community just coming to check out the music of Bach, or coming to go to the St. Benedict festival, and then you can pray with the monks. Like they pray Vespers after that, and everyone is welcome to pray with them. It's amazing, and that's one of the signs that the Holy Spirit is with the Benedictines at Mount Angel Abbey, is that you see it attracting life and attracting love. What does that have to do with how we are driving our families crazy over the holidays? Is whether it is the quote unquote rules of your religion, whether it is the rules that you have made up about what traditions you're supposed to follow during the holidays, whether it is the rules of how clean your house is supposed to be and at what times, it's not from God if it's driving everyone away because you're being annoying. And I am talking to myself there. I'm also talking to a few Catholic influencers, if we're going to be honest. But I'm talking to myself there, because I do have rules in my mind about what a good Christmas looks like, and it makes nobody want to celebrate Christmas at all with me, because I can be very annoying about it, and I can just get very stressed out and kind of max myself out about this sort of thing. And that is something that I have been reminding myself of. This is a good litmus test. If you have gone off the rails, again, whether it's with the practice of your faith or something you're doing at the holidays or anything, you need to come back to the litmus test of, is this causing me to radiate love? Am I radiating love? Is it attracting people to want to be in my presence because of the way that I am practicing this? And if the answer is, oh no, not at all, then like me, you might need to do some self-reflection, and you need to listen to my last 2 episodes where I was talking about the journal speak method of becoming a calm, sane person. I'm so serious. Go listen to episode 232 and 231. At the very end, very, very end, I went into detail about the journal speak practice. I'm telling you have to do it, and it will help you with what we're talking about today. As usual, we will get to the main topic in the second half of the show. We hit intro topics for the first half. People are going to say that I'm like bringing up something controversial. To the untrained ear, it will sound like my intro topic is controversial, but it's not. It's not. It'll just sound that way to people who don't understand what just philosophizing about stuff is. All right. Omaha tonight. Des Moines tomorrow. Last time I was in Omaha, I fell off the stage. I mean, can we have a podcast episode where I don't talk about something physical, terrible happening to me on stage? Yeah, I was, and it's the only time I've ever gotten a standing ovation for comedy. They were giving me a standing ovation, and I fell off the stage. What is wrong with me? You know what? I'm going to airdrop this to you. We didn't have this prepped for today. I'm going to airdrop it to you, Katlyn. Yep, that's me. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, we'll play that in a minute. Don't let me forget to play this. But yeah, then after that, in the spring, I'm taking a couple months off. And then in the spring, I go to the other cities, Buffalo and the other...
Royal Oak.
What?
Royal Oak.
Yeah. Buffalo, Royal Oak, and...
Possibly Virginia Beach.
No. Well, yeah, Virginia Beach, I still need to announce. Columbus.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
JFComedyTour.com. Just look, we're pre-taping this. So we should have more cities now. jfcomedytour.com. That link is in the show notes. Do you have the media, or is it going to take a second?
Oh, do you want me to pull it up right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'll just set up the show. Welcome to the Jen Fulwiler Show. I'm your host, Jen. I am a best-selling author, stand-up comic, and mom of 6. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. We publish new episodes every single Wednesday morning. Katlyn White is our lovely producer, and you can get bonus content on Patreon. We have the base level is we do an after party after each episode where I just keep talking on the main subject. You get like 10 bonus minutes roughly of content. The higher level is Village Hustle, and that's where I tell you just kind of how I manage everything, all of my business secrets, balancing work, life, family secrets. That is the Village Hustle episode. And when you join at that level, you get everything. You get that plus the after party, plus everyone at every level gets the archives of my State of the Dumpster Fire live chats where I talk trash about things that I cannot say publicly. Patreon.com/thisisjen. That is patreon.com/thisisjen. So you know that I've had a longstanding issue of not being able to get off of stages. Check out my previous 2 episodes if you missed that. So now tonight, I have a show in Omaha. For sure come out to that because we'll see if I can not get off the stage. Now, this one, we don't have video. Sadly, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, that would.
Gosh, this is so terrible. Okay, well, here's audio. This is me falling off the stage in Omaha, Nebraska. I planned that. You hear the crowd? Let's see, where's my phone? Oh my God. I am actually okay. That was... You don't know. I mean, you don't know the feeling of wanting to go to heaven and be with Jesus and just call this a loss. Do you hear that crunch?
Can you hear it one more time?
Yeah. Katlyn has never requested, like, yeah, we need to stay on this one.
All right, here we go.
I planned that. Katlyn's gonna die. Let's see, where's my phone? Oh my God. Did you not know that, Katlyn? That was you never heard that? Omaha, Nebraska, tonight. Do I get a service dog? At what point does the government fund a service dog for me? I mean, come on. Is this not... Katlyn's not...
I'm not okay.
I mean, she'd have to leave. If we had this on video, she'd have to leave. She'd have to be like, someone else has to take over because I need to go stand outside and just laugh for like 40 minutes straight. Yeah. Oh no, that's like a real crunch. Like that stage, and the stage is like, it's not low, you know, it's a whole stage, like 5 feet tall. Just felt, I mean, and you in the crowd going like, oh, like, and then they stopped their standing ovation. This is, you guys, this is my life. I never get a standing ovation for comedy. Why would you? It doesn't happen. Never. But the one time I fall off the stage. I mean, and I had 2 shows that night. I did a meet and greet after that show, and then I did a second show and a meet and greet. I mean,
that's impressive.
The grind never stops. So, okay, yeah, we'll give Katlyn 30 minutes to just, you know what, Katlyn should put that on her phone for like, if you're ever having a really hard day, you're just you're stuck in traffic and you just play that, just put it on loop, just play it over and over and over again. Yeah, so jfcomedytour.com, maybe it'll happen again tonight. Des Moines, that'll be good. There's a 10% chance. So I have someone filming in Des Moines. There's a only 10%, but there's a 10% chance if that crowd is really hot tomorrow in Des Moines. And if the footage comes out okay, there's a tiny chance I will just release that as my next special. Because I'm so frustrated with how everything, I might just be like, yeah, Des Moines was great. We're doing it. So 10% chance you'll be part of a special filming if you come to my Des Moines show. Okay. So now that we're past that, by the way, I just have to say, because I've been traveling a lot. I have so many questions about the exit row questions, because I've said before, when they ask you, they're like, are you willing and able to assist when you sit in an exit row? And they never ask if you plan to stay sober. It seems like that should be their first question. But when they ask me in the exit row if I'm willing and able to assist, I always say yes, because I am. They never ask me to define assist. I do plan to assist with words of affirmation. I don't have a lot of upper body strength. I don't think I'm getting that door open. I'm also confused by those types of the instructions. They're like hieroglyphs to me. But I could be very affirming of someone else who could get that door open. I would be like, you can do it. We all really believe in you. We're just all going to die if you don't, but you go. And that is what I mean when I say I am willing and able to assist. So I hope that is okay with the airlines. These are the things I think about when I'm on planes. Now, listen, guys, it's going to sound like what I am talking about next is bringing up politics and a controversial issue. And that's because you guys don't understand. Just because I'm going to talk about the election and abortion does not mean that anything controversial is being said here. This is a come one, come all podcast. This podcast is open to all people of different viewpoints, trying to help everybody be right. Just trying to help everyone get on the same page here. But I can't go on a whole lot longer without commenting on, in a non-controversial way, I'm just going to make a general statement here that everyone should agree with. Have you guys seen that? So a lot of women are going on a sex strike. They're not going to have relations with men because they perceive that the cultural tide is turning to be less in favor of abortion. And so with just laws and things like that. And so have you heard about this? This is out there. Okay. So that's, and quite a few of my comedy friends are posting about this. And so this comes up in green rooms. Like we talk about this. My comedy friends, of course, are, they have a different viewpoint than I do. Not a lot of people in the stand-up comedy field, have share my perspectives. But that's what I like about the field that I'm in, is there is an acceptance of different viewpoints, like more so than almost any other circles I've ever been in. And as comedians, we like controversial topics. Like we're very easily bored. So we would rather talk about like insanely contentious issues than the weather, which is all I've ever wanted in life. So some of these gals were talking about how they're doing it. They're going to do a sex strike because of these laws that they hate so much. And I was giving them a hard time because I was like, that is a newfangled idea. That this is revolutionary. You guys, what galaxy brain? I mean, come on. This is new. I mean, okay, so wait a minute. If you either can't or don't want to get rid of your kids, you're going to wait to engage in the act that creates kids until you're ready for kids. No, stop. This is too new. It's too new. No one's ever thought of this. You know what you guys could do? Okay. You know what you could do next? I wonder if, I'm just spitballing here because this is just straight off the dome. I mean, this is like off the top of my head because no one's ever thought of this before. I just wonder if there's like a social institution that you could create that would incentivize the male partner in the relationship to like stick around and take care of any kids that come from the relations once you have those relations, when you're ready for kids. I don't know. I mean, but this is all, it's all so new, these ideas of yours, that I don't know if there is a social institution, like maybe you could say vows or something. I don't know. We're just spitballing all of these new ideas. They hate me. No, they don't hate. No, we're buds, but they were like, shut up. I'm like, there's a local youth group that has these exact same ideas. So that's really interesting, ladies. But here's what I was telling them. And again, I'm not saying anything controversial. This is a non-controversial podcast always, especially right now. And I said this to my little buddies in the green room, who, I mean, they are a large part of their personality is, they love them some abortion rights, like very important to them. But I love the fact that we can have these dialogues and that we're all getting up on the same stage and doing the same thing. And we, people who are in this line of work, we like to find intellectual inconsistencies. We like to tease out ideas. So it actually does lead to some pretty fun conversations. So here's what I said. That I think they did a good job of hiding it, but I think they were like, this is a really interesting point that Jen just had. I said that they should be excited. If it is true that society is going a little more like not thinking abortion is the most amazing thing in the world, a little more like, I hate to use the term pro-life, but let's say culture of life. We've talked on this podcast about culture of death versus culture of life. I said, if it is true that society is trending in a more culture of life direction, you guys should support that, because all of these gals, and I say this very affectionately, I like them very much. And a lot of them they've actually been through a lot. They have capital T trauma in their life, and they're doing such a good job managing it all. And if they would all just convert to Catholicism, then they'd have the right worldview. Anyway, I love these gals, and I say this very affectionately, that they're doing such a good job managing what they've been through. And a lot of them are really into abundance mentality. And that's a big thing. They're like, I know I can overcome this stuff in my past because it's like abundance, which I love. I'm all about abundance mentality too. But here's the thing. A deeply pro-abortion culture will never be an abundance mentality culture. And everyone knows that sounds right. I could see the wheels in their mind, like trying to argue with me, but they couldn't, because it sounds right at a fundamental level, doesn't it? Because, being quote unquote pro-life, and I don't just mean with abortion stuff, but just in favor of, having disabled people be a full part of society, and, like people with Down syndrome, like not being like, like Iceland's like, we cured Down syndrome. No, you didn't. That's not why there's nobody with Down syndrome there. Not being in favor of euthanasia, things like that. A pro-life culture is an abundance mentality culture. These things go hand in hand. And I say this, I used to donate money to Planned Parenthood, guys. I used to be as pro-choice as it could possibly get. And I have lived both mentalities. And even me back in the day would have kind of tracked with this. Like, I hate to admit it, but you guys are kind of right. Because, being pro-life, again, defining this broadly, is by definition being pro other people's lives. Everyone is pro their own life. Like when you see them march for life, like no one's marching for themselves. Like everyone at the March for Life, like they're able-bodied people. They're fine. No one's trying to kill them. Everyone there is marching for someone who can't speak up, like disabled people who are pressured to be euthanized, or, poor people who are pressured to get sterilized by their doctors. Oh, that's a thing, by the way, that has been happening somewhat recently in Texas, like impoverished women who don't speak English getting pushed to sterilization because, they don't want any more of those types in our society. So being pro-life is being pro other people's life, that's the ultimate abundance mentality. And here's the other thing is abundance mentality is rooted in hope. Abundance mentality is rooted in hope that like good things are coming and good things can come, and it's not over, and it's not just getting worse. And there is nothing that brings hope like new life, like a baby. Whether or not you have kids of your own, you've seen it. There's just something about like you meet a new baby and it's like, wow, like a new human life. This is a whole, for those of us who love storytelling, it's like, wow, a whole new story begins, and there's going to be drama and love and excitement and tears and redemption and happiness and falling off stages and, you know, getting banned from hematologist's office. Like, that's, you know, if your life is good like mine, it's a whole new beginning of a whole story. And it's just, you know, when you're in the presence of a baby, it's like, it's just hope that things can be better. And, you know, I know many people who have had abortions, relatives, friends, many people. And there was not a lot of hope in those decisions. There was not. And sometimes, you know, one of the girls I was talking to, she's like, no, it's like hope that I'm going to get a promotion at my job or, you know, without. And I was like, nah, okay, come on. You know, that doesn't even sound right. Like, to say that, all right, this baby's showing up at a really crazy time. And we, you know, well, like, you know, when I had a blood clotting disorder that's like, the doctors kept telling me I would die and whatever. I'd been on an FDA category X medicine and I wasn't supposed to have more kids and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and we didn't have insurance and the medicine I needed to save my life was $4,000 a month and we had no money. I mean, certainly there have been people who have been through much worse, but that was also not nothing. And, obviously, you know, the doctors told me that like I should have an abortion. I laugh about that with my daughter now. I'm like, I want to like take her to meet these people who tried to push me to that. But there wasn't a lot of hope in what they were telling me. It was just like, there's, you know, you have this blood clotting disorder. It's really serious. You need to have an abortion and get sterilized. It was just constant. I mean, that was the pressure that I was put on to take those steps cannot possibly be overstated. It was the hardest thing. It was the hardest thing about having 6 kids was that because of my medical condition, it was, I was just under insane pressure. And you know, what's interesting. This actually just came to me. I'd forgotten about this. So this was 2006 and 7 when it really reached a crescendo before they gave up on me. And I think they recategorized me as like Amish or something. They're like, she's so crazy with her religious weirdness that we're not going to get through to her. So they treated me with, not all the doctors, but some of them treated me with just kind of open contempt and disgust. And but they stopped pressuring me. But 2006, 2007 it was very bad. And I said to them, I said, you know, especially when abortion was, I was like, stop. But with sterilization, I said, but what about hope? Like, you know, thanks to all of the people that have been born in the world, who are doing great things and innovating. And because we have a growing and expanding population where, you know, there are enough people to take care of food and, you know, the basics so that we can have a thinking class, so that we can have scientists, which like you can't have in a small declining population, by the way, because we have all these great innovations thanks to our expanding large population. You know, maybe new medicine will come on the market that changes things and that would, you know, make it easier for me with pregnancy. And they're like, no, that wouldn't happen. Just get sterilized. Well, guess what? That actually did happen. It is called Xarelto. I am on it now. It is safe for pregnancy. It does not cost, it's sort of expensive, but it doesn't cost anywhere near what the other stuff cost. But I had that hope. And that comes with that pro-life, pro other people's lives, pro-human life in all its forms worldview, that I was like, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's kind of a Catholic thing, but like I look around at humanity and I see all the great things that each person can potentially bring to the table. Like not the annoying people in the Catholic ghetto, but other people who aren't virtue signaling on Instagram all the time. I see the potential of humanity and how good it is that all of these people are here and there are new babies being born who are going to bring new innovations to the table. And like, no, I'm not going to live my life assuming that there's no hope for the future and that this will never be resolved. And again, the exact developments that I thought might come to play did. But they were, I mean, I'd have 2 kids if I listened to them. That they were telling me to stop. I mean, not telling me. They were like, I mean, like hammer of Thor coming down on me to stop it too. But it was just that hopeful mentality that that I continued. And of course, like it gives me beyond chills to think that I ever, was exposed to that kind of sad, hopeless mentality. So to take it back to this non-controversial subject, there's nothing controversial about what I'm bringing up. It's not. I'm just making point. I'm making good points. It's not controversial if it's a good point. That's my perspective. That's what I was telling these girls who I genuinely love them. I love them so much, and I'm rooting for them, and they're so talented and they're so great. And so I said to this guy, I said with all sincerity, I said, this resonates as true on some level, that a culture that leans pro-life is a culture of abundance, because it's a culture of hope, and abundance always comes from hope, and you kind of can't have one without the other, and you see that in these swings in politics. And sometimes if some major abortion law is passed, you have seen you will see people kind of celebrating, but notice that the tenor of it is always, it's like a hedonistic party, like we can do crazy things with no consequences. We have quote unquote freedom now, and it burns out pretty quickly. That is not the kind of culture, the sort of culture that's celebrating, abortion on demand through all 9 months. That is not the kind of culture that is going to have a long-term abundance mentality. They will have a hedonistic party for a few months, and then it will burn out, because ultimately it's a very hopeless worldview, and it's a worldview that is not based on expansion. And again, inarguable, it's not based on expansion, but like by definition, the thing that was, the new life that was trying to expand into existence, you're stopping that, and you're celebrating the stoppage of that. And so it is very much a scarcity mentality worldview. And that is something I even noticed when I was in my pro-choice donating to Planned Parenthood era. I noticed the scarcity mentality in our thinking, because I loved all the girl boss messaging, girls can do anything. It was like, man, if you want to be the head of NASA before you are 30 years old, you can do it. But, oh, no, you couldn't have a baby in college and still finish college. No, you couldn't do that. Like, you couldn't have a baby at a young age and amount to anything, obviously. My daughters came home, the ones who go to public school, said that they were watching videos. They showed them videos that were like there's no hope for teen moms, like showing these sad sack, teen moms who like nothing good ever happens to them. And just this, I mean, is that abundance mentality? Is that feminism? Is that girl boss? Is that girls can do anything? It's so funny how it's like we girl boss all the way up until pregnancy. And then we stop. And then it's like, no, a girl couldn't do that. No, no. A baby that comes at like the wrong time. No, a girl could never handle that. Absolutely not. Yeah. She could like split the atom in a semiconductor, but no, she couldn't. No, she couldn't like handle an unexpected pregnancy. So, and I was also saying, when you think about that kind of like super, celebrating abortion, like, oh, it's just so great. Like we need laws that are just like, oh, whatever. I mean, aside from, I won't even get into the internal inconsistencies in that worldview, because this will be a 2-hour podcast, because that's just, that's the podcast content that just keeps on giving the absolute inconsistencies. But one of the things that I noticed when I was in that mindset was it is scarcity mentality. It is saying like, yeah, women can't, there aren't enough resources. I mean, you're not going to be able to find a way to get the money, to raise a kid that you didn't expect. There's no way you could get a man to commit to you. And you certainly wouldn't be able to like get married if you already have a kid. It's like, it's all fear and scarcity. It's all fear and scarcity. And so if you have an entire culture that is buying into the fear and the scarcity that is required to prop up this worldview, you're not going to have great economics. Like you're just not, because the entire populace is fundamentally at a core level buying into fear and scarcity when it comes to the ultimate expansion, which is human life. That's just not going to lead to abundance. And I would also suggest it's not going to lead to great art, when you think of art that is enduring, the work of Michelangelo and Da Vinci and art that like it's beyond, listen, we all enjoyed having a brat summer. I mean, I can't, Charlie XCX, it was good, I had a brat summer thanks to her. I got dropped by both my agent and manager on the same day at the end of my brat summer. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that people with like that pro-choice, more kind of hedonistic worldview, I'm not saying they never create a good bop, because they really do. But I'm talking about like truly great art that people will still be gasping at and beholding in 300, 500 years. I don't know. People might still be listening to the Brat album. I mean, it is kind of timeless. I mean, Apple, like, yeah, I mean, maybe. But for the most part, people are still standing in awe at the paintings and the sculptures that came from, let's face it, a lot of it was Catholic culture. And Catholic culture at its core is in favor of mess and life and expansion and abundance. This is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that so many of the great pieces of enduring art came from this kind of culture. And you can look at other cultures as well, outside of the West. And when you see truly great art that people from any culture would stop and gasp like this, wow, like this is incredible. Very often you see that correlation that when there's a lot of this art coming from one time and place in history, that was a time and place in history that saw babies as a good thing. That was a time and place in history that saw babies as a sign of favor, as a sign of abundance, and saw that kind of expansion of human life as a positive thing. You really don't see great enduring art from a culture that sees babies as the enemy. Because in order to create great art, you have to have abundance mentality, and you can't live in fear all the time. And those are things that, with that, super pro-abortion worldview, it's a fear-based worldview, it's a hopeless worldview, and it's a scarcity mentality worldview. And I'm not even criticizing it. I'm just speaking facts. I'm not even starting arguments with people. I'm not. It's a fact. And the people, my comedy friends, they felt like I was a little bit starting an argument. They oddly enough, they did not sit at my feet and take notes, which I felt like should be the outcome. But I was like, I'm not even criticizing it. I have some criticisms of this worldview, but I'm not. This is a fact. How you can't argue with the fact that your worldview is scarcity based. I mean, it just is. So that's just some good stories of me being right. And again, this is nothing controversial. I'm just speaking facts. And I think it is interesting for all of these people, women who think they're very pro-woman, who are like, they're kind of screeching about society becoming more pro-life, which is their perception. I don't even know if I agree with that, if like really in the streets we're doing that, but okay, maybe. But that's neither here nor there. What they perceive is what matters. And, very upset about it. And I think they struggle a little bit with really stepping into a true abundance mentality. And for those who are in the arts, like stand-up comedy, I think they struggle a little bit with their creation, because at the very core, at the very, very root of it all, they have a fear-based worldview and they have a scarcity-based worldview. And I honestly think that if they started leaning into hope and leaning into the truth that women really can do anything and everything, and we don't need to be so terrified of our own anatomy. You don't need to be at war with your body all the time. You can stop being afraid of it. If you do that, like I think your art would flourish as well, because when you're in abundance mentality and you're in hope mentality, it impacts every area of life. Even your art gets better. So that's my non-controversial. I did not say anything that like anyone should be upset about there. It's only facts. Now this actually leads into the main topic. Hit the woven tapestry sound effect. I mean, the way these intro topics are just like a seamless just a seamless tapestry, really, is what this podcast is. It's nice now, too, that I'm like talking about problems in the Catholic ghetto. I'm trying to offend everyone with this episode. It's the holiday season.
It's the offensive episode.
Yeah. Well, it's it's the holiday season. Listen, it's, I'm here to bring controversy and have everyone be mad at me, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. It's like that's my version of standing under the mistletoe. Some people talk trash. I mean, some people kiss, and I just talk trash and offend people. So yeah, what's wrong with the Catholic ghetto? I think about that a lot. I mean, I just sit there on social media and I'm like, we need, what we need? We need, sometimes the military will airdrop troops in, they jump out of plane. My dad did this at Halo, high altitude, low opening, where they would make it look like it was a cargo plane going over enemy territory, and they would jump out and, parachute in and then fight. We need to do that with Mexican Catholic grandmothers. We need to airdrop them in to American Catholicism, because the weirdness that is part of I want every American Catholic to go on a field trip to Old World Catholic Italy, Mexico, Old World Catholic Spain, and I don't mean the quasi-atheistic stuff that a lot of their mainstream culture has going on now, but I'm talking about the grandmothers who are doing it the old way, who really animated by love of Christ, genuinely, authentically, and they don't have to check boxes. They don't have to have a list of, well, this thing is a sin, and I did not do this thing today, and I did these 3 things, and therefore I need to go talk on Instagram about how I am a good Catholic, but I will put it under the guise of encouragement, so that everyone knows that not only am I perfect, but I am encouraging other Catholics to be perfect too. It's like, I think we're all on the spectrum, guys. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but we got to shut it down until we figure out what's going on. But here is my opinion. And no, I mean, look, if I am your spiritual director, if you are getting your advice on how to walk with God from me, you've got much bigger problems than anything we're trying to solve here. So run this by, go find a monk, go to Mount Angel Abbey, find one of those monks, go to, priest. I was saying the other day, the finest human beings I have ever met in my life are Catholic priests. I mean, if you were to say who are the most intelligent, interesting, fun, well-adjusted, kind, awesome human beings you've ever met, list 10, 7 of them would be Catholic priests. So find one of those, run this by them. But here's what I think. There's the quote that is often attributed to, well, people say Saint Ignatius said it, but it's probably Saint Irenaeus, but whatever. The glory of God is man fully alive. Maybe they mean Ignatius of Antioch. That and everyone's probably thinking the same thing. Yeah. Just kidding.
I have no idea.
Ignatius, I know. Ignatius of Loyola wouldn't have said it. Duh, Jen. Maybe it's Ignatius of Antioch. Okay. Maybe he did say it, but whatever. So somebody said, and I think it's really right, the glory of God is man fully alive. And this resonates with just logic. Do you guys think that God created us to be boring and to not experience life and to really throw ourselves into it and savor it and experience the richness of it? It was, how do you put it? Hilaire Belloc, Belloc, Belloc. Look, he's French. I don't know. The French guy, he said, wherever the Catholic sun doth shine, there is always laughter and good wine. Clearly, he had not met the American Catholic influencer space, but it's in his day, that was probably true. And Chesterton, convert to Catholicism, talked about this, that, this idea that doesn't it make sense that if you're going to hit the let me start over, but we're going back to fundamentals. Yeah. Let's forget everything we know about Catholics, the Catholic ghetto religion. Let's just take it. All right. We're starting over from the beginning. All right. Let's say that God created the universe and everything. And then he created people. All right. You with me so far? Okay, good. So God, this thing that we call God, this being, this creator, he created the human experience. And then he decided to become human. And then let's say before he ascended to heaven, he was like, galaxy brain insight. I'll found a church. And I'm going to stick with it until the end of the age. And it's going to be full of like the most insufferable people you've ever met in your life, like some real fools and sinners. But I will guide it in its teaching. And I'll stick with it, you know, so it's like the one church. It's like easy to figure out how to get to know me and stuff. And so, yeah, that's, you know, it's like through this church. It also allows you to like not ignore people. Like you kind of have to go through other people to connect with me, because otherwise you guys would all ignore each other, as you frankly should probably, because you guys are all messes. So let's say all that happened, and then you get involved in this church that God founded when he became man, and it just makes you really rigid, and you're just like, you know, very, very focused on the rules. Wouldn't that feel like that's probably not how it's supposed to be? Wouldn't it seem like if you get close to the creator who made all of this, the creator who made the human experience, the creator who allowed the flourishing of art, of plays and movies and music and just drama, you know, people getting in arguments and loss and laughter and love and redemption, the creator who created all of that, wouldn't he want you to be part of that? Wouldn't he want you being close to him to really immerse you in the richness of this wild and crazy experience that we call human life? And what I see is all of these people who, it's like they're afraid to live because they're afraid of doing it wrong. And it just seems to me like if you're really close to the being that just created all of this, you should seem really alive. Like you should strike people as being extra alive and vibrant. And here's the thing. The human experience, by definition, because it's a fallen world, because we're fallen people and we mess up, the human experience is full of mess. It's full of sin, frankly. It's full of bad things too, and people doing the wrong thing and taking it a little too far. With that, you know, wherever the Catholic sun doth shine, quote, there's laughter and good wine. And listen, sometimes when you're enjoying the good wine, it might happen that you enjoy it a little too much. And that doesn't mean it's fine and it's nothing and everyone should get drunk all the time. No, it's that we don't think that's a great thing. But that's why God gave us redemption. He gave us repentance, confession, forgiveness, because we're supposed to be like being alive and immersing ourselves in the human experience. And to think of it as a game, the game of the human experience has some mess ups and some messy parts. And if you really throw yourself into the game, sometimes you're going to hit a foul ball. Sometimes you're going to get out of bounds. And I think God kind of like planned for that with the whole confession, redemption, forgiveness, penance. You know, I like, you don't want to act like sin doesn't matter, because it does. I mean, a sin is an offense against love. And so that's not good. You don't want to not love people. Sin matters. But I also think that when you're being fully alive and fully yourself and testing out what that really means, you might err sometimes. Again, when you're toasting good wine, I mentioned drinking wine with Brother Claude in Mount Angel. Well, yeah, it could happen that I have a few too many glasses and I'm stumbling around, and okay, that's not ideal. I shouldn't do that. And okay, I'll go to confession, redemption, forgiveness, penance. Like that's part of it. But that's again, it's like hitting a foul ball. When you play the game, I think God is aware that that's going to happen. And what I see is a lot of people who are so rigid, it's like they wouldn't be fully present in that conversation with Brother Claude, because they'd be like, I need to make sure, the rule says that it is not good to drink too much. So I am going to watch how much I drink, because that's the rule. And I need to be a good Catholic and I need to follow this rule. And they're not really ever fully living it. They're not really fully doing it. They're not really fully present, because they're rigidly following the rules. They have a checklist that they need to follow, and they're focused on the checklist, not being in this moment. And what I see is epidemic among people in the Catholic ghetto, very, very epidemic. And by the way, even if outside of faith, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I think this applies even if you have rigid rules for yourself about keeping your house clean, about the way you dress, about your appearance, about your weight. I'm talking about religion right now, but this really applies to any rule system that you believe to be important. So keep that in mind. When you are like the glory of God is man fully alive. So if you have found the one true church that brings you closer to God, real presence in the Eucharist, all that, it just seems like you should be really fully alive. I'm not seeing as much of that as I feel like I should with, American Catholics. And I think it's because so many of them they're afraid. They're afraid to immerse themselves fully in the human experience and find out who they really are, because they're afraid they might toddle outside of the lines if they really let themselves kind of open up and be free. And I like to think, being the theologian and saint that I am, yeah, you talk to your local holy person about this. But I like to think that God sees us as children learning to walk. And when you are learning to, as St. Catherine of Siena would have said, be who you're meant to be, and you will set the world on fire. When you're learning that process of who am I really? How do I be unapologetically my quirky self? Like, I'm just going to be weird and wild, and I'm just going to feel great about that because that's the way God made me. You're like a toddler learning to walk. And what happens when toddlers learn to walk? Sometimes they fall down. Sometimes they bump into the chair and they hurt themselves. Sometimes they make a mess. They'll knock a glass off the table accidentally and it breaks. And yeah, it's not good. I mean, we don't want them to go for that in their learning to walk process, but it is part of the process. And what I would like is to see people of faith. I would like to see people of faith really lean into, like, be on fire, be who you were meant to be, wildly, boldly, unapologetically crazy. And yes, try to walk always in love. I mean, seriously, like, that it's good. It's good to be a loving person, to share God's love with the world. Like, obviously, try not to sin. Again, sin is just when you're not loving people. You don't want to do that. So of course, like, try not to go outside of those bounds, but don't put the cart before the horse. Don't like not live your life because you're so afraid of doing it wrong. And that's what I see a lot of people doing. To use another example, I do see it as like a game. Like, let's take baseball, for example. The game played well, that there are rules, there are limits. And if you hit a ball outside of out of bounds, it's a foul ball. There are consequences for that. So that's, you want to be aware of that. So to take that analogy to modern society, on the one hand, the secular kind of hedonist type people, the analogy there is they're like, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want. No rules. Well, that's not even a game anymore. It's just like people running around a field. Like, one person's asleep on the field. One person is, using the bat to juggle. Another person is like throwing balls and hitting people. Like, it's not even fun. There's no game if there aren't rules. Like, these idiots who are like, I don't believe in sin. You should, next time someone says that, Just like throw a glass of ice water in their face. And when they're like, hey, why did you do that? Be like, well, I thought you didn't believe in sin. Like, you don't believe in right and wrong. Then that was fine. What I just did, you don't, subjective moral code, There's no such thing as right and wrong. So you can't say that was my personal choice to throw that glass of water in your face. I mean, it's so silly. Those people who are like, I think that sin is just a confining concept. Yeah, they think that sin is a confining concept, like until their boyfriend cheats on them. And then they believe in sin pretty strongly. They don't find it too confining, actually, at that point. So that's silly. The people who throw the rules out and don't pay attention to it. It's like, not only is it stupid and illogical and doesn't even resonate with the human experience, but it's not fun. Like, the game of life or the game of anything is simply not fun if there are not rules. Now, on the other hand, we have the Catholic ghetto. And that would be like if you had baseball players who were really talented and could make this game really fun for themselves, for their other players. They could make it fun to watch and really gather human life to seamlessly weave these topics together from the beginning, middle, and the end. Like, to just play the game so well that people want to gather. People want to know more about baseball because they're just so interested in these players. Like, man, look at that guy. Man, he is good. Wow. And you're selling out stadiums because it's just so many people are gathered to your practice of the game. And it's so cool. And that's what it could be. That's what, like, the old school Mexican, Italian, Spanish Catholics, like, that is how they play the game of life. It's very well done. That's it. Michelangelo, that's how he did it. And yes, sometimes you mess up. You hit a fly ball. You go out of bounds. You get hit in the face with a ball. And there's redemption for all of that. And that doesn't stop you from throwing yourself into the game. But what I see in the Catholic ghetto, and I've done it myself, and a lot of you guys do this, but I've done it myself. I mean, we're the same. That's why you listen to this podcast. What a lot of us do is, like, we would be like the baseball player who has a lot of talent. Everyone's hoping to see what they can do, hoping to see how alive and animated they can be on the field, but they're so afraid of hitting a foul ball. They're so afraid of not doing it right that they never really play the game. They never really let loose and see what they can do in this game because they think the whole purpose of the game is not to hit a foul ball, which is so, like, really imagine that. Imagine that you are introducing kids to the sport of baseball, and you really want to see them grow in this sport. You think all of these kids really have some talent for it, and it will be fun to see what they can do. And imagine that you explain baseball to them. They don't know about baseball, and you sit down and you're like, okay, kids, so you cannot hit foul balls. You cannot. That is not what we're about. Your balls have to stay in bounds, okay? You cannot hit foul balls. You do not want to strike out. Do not do that. Oh, no, do not strike out. Don't, like, if you hit the ball and it hits another guy, also really bad. Like, do not do that. Do not do that. Would any of those kids, A, want to play that game at all? B, have any interest in baseball? And would they ever really find out what they could do in that sport? No, because they're so focused on making sure that they do it all right. It's like, you got to do it right. You got to do it right. And I think that is really, really messing up, frankly, the whole culture, because I mean, we could have another Michelangelo. We could have another Da Vinci. We could have more, like, great Catholic art. Like I mentioned, I can't remember whether it was in this episode or the previous one, the gal at one of my shows who said she's so inspired to be a novelist. And she wants to write young adult fiction, like in the fantasy genre, like wizards and, all that stuff. I mean, we could have someone with a great Catholic worldview, the next Tolkien. She could write the next Lord of the Rings trilogy. But the way I have seen this play out so many times, and by the way, I'm not talking about her at this point. Maybe she's not like this, but the way I've seen this play out so many times is like somebody won't do it because they're like, oh, I might be being worldly. I might be being worldly. You know what? I thought, I had one thought, what if I became a best-selling author? And so I'm being about money and I'm being about worldliness, and that's not of God. So I think I need to put this down. I think I need to stop trying to write my novel because this is worldly and this is not of God. Do you think God wants that? Listen, I know I'm no spiritual director. I'm no saint. You should not get spiritual advice from me, but come on. Do you think God wants people to live like that? Like, maybe someone who is a singer or an actress being like, oh, I'm just worried that I might want fame and that's prideful. So I guess, I was inspired to write that song and record it, but I won't because that's wrong. Or, oh, good Lord, especially when women are moms, because it is like a nuclear explosion of virtue signaling when you take the, American Catholics with American mom culture. Oh, good Lord. I don't know how any of us survive it, honestly, because you can virtue signal with your religion, but then you can also virtue signal about being a mom. It's like an embarrassment of riches for people who like to virtue signal. And then it gets in our heads. And so, so many women are like there was someone I talked to, she loves dance. I want to say she might have even done Juilliard, but loves dance and was actually thinking, she lives in kind of a small town. They don't have a dance studio. And she was given, I think by God, a really grand vision of like, what if our little small town became kind of a center for excellent dance? Like kids were coming out of this dance studio that people are like, wow, that is beautiful. Like I've never seen ballet done like that. That just like stirs something within me to see this art form performed so beautifully. And again, that's of God when you see that someone dancing in a beautiful ballet, and it's just such a God moment. But then because she's a mom and she is influenced by Catholic ghetto Instagram influencers, she was like, no, my vocation as a mom is, I think that would take too much time. And listen, family life is complicated. And yes, there are times when we can't pursue the things we want to pursue because our family legitimately needs us. Yes, of course, that is a legitimate thing that happens. But in this case, that was not happening. It was very clear that she was buying into weirdo American Catholic culture that puts fear of the rules first. And so she never did anything with it. And by the way, she taught her kids a lesson of, definitely do not be your true self when you have kids. Do not explore your blue flame. Just, really be just kind of be a gray rock as much as you can. Just like don't express your personality and your interests. Lord knows don't go for anything. Don't try to accomplish a big goal. That's the message she's sending her kids. Is that how you want your kids to go into adulthood? Well, I might want to have kids, give my parents grandkids, but my mom taught me that you have to delete every interest you have ever had when you have kids. And my mom seemed kind of miserable. I don't know if I want to sign up for that. What witness is that giving your kids? Fear of the rules it's a poison in American culture. And it's a shame because we have a lot of resources in this culture. And I think that a lot of you guys could be doing some truly extraordinary things. And I don't even necessarily mean world fame, although frankly, I think some of you have the talent and the ability to achieve that. But I mean just things like just seeming so beautifully fully alive to the people who know you, to your family, to your neighbors, to the nursing home where you volunteer, and you talk yourselves out of it because you listen to weirdo Catholic influencers who put the rules first and think that that's what this is about. Again, they're like the baseball coach who only talks about don't hit a foul ball, don't hit a foul ball, don't hit a foul ball. that's just, guys, that's not how we're supposed to play the game. You're supposed to throw yourself fully into the game. And what that looks like is seeing what you got in there. Like, what did God give you? What did God give you? Like, what talents are in there? What quirky, weird personality traits that are going to make people a little uncomfortable? Like, what you got in there? Let's see it. Let it all hang out. Let's put it out there. And yes, there will be times that you take it too far. There will be times that you're pursuing your blue flame and it's been a couple of weeks and you look back and you say, you know what? I've been neglecting my family a little bit, and it's not good. It might even be in the territory of sin, and I'm going to ask for forgiveness, and I will do penance, and I will receive forgiveness. And isn't that the beauty of God, that we can start fresh? That will happen. You're like a toddler learning to walk. You will go outside the bounds occasionally. And I think that's in some ways a feature, not a bug. It shows that you are trying, you are fully immersing yourself in the human experience, and you are learning what it means to be alive. And like a toddler who falls down, you ask for forgiveness, you receive it, and then you get back up. But to go back to the other analogy, an abundance of analogies on this episode. It's like the toddler would never really learn to walk if they were just so afraid that they might bump into the table and knock down a glass. Like, if they're just living in fear of that, then it's going to take them a long time to learn to walk, So, and again, this applies to, like, let's take religion out of it entirely. For those of you who think it's really, really important to have your house looking a certain way. That can be great. That can be done in a immersed in the human experience, love-based way. Like, man, I want to walk into my house and I want to see order. God is a God of order. And so because of that, I want people to want to come to my place, to walk in and be like, man, this is great. This isn't like Jen's hellhole of a house. Like, this is really nice. Like, this is comfortable. You got some throw pillows. And so that's one way to do it. That is great and immersed in the human experience. And it leads to a proliferation of life. But there is another way to approach this that's like, you're so afraid of mess. You're so afraid of not following the rules. The rules say that we can't have one crumb on the table, and the rules say that we can't have a glass left in the living room, and the rules say that blanket can't be over there, that now nobody wants to come to your house. And you don't have your kids hanging out in the living room. You don't have your kids inviting friends over. You don't see people coming to your house and wanting to be in this space because you put the rules first, because you let your fear of not following the rules drive you, rather than your love of what the rules can do to bless you and the people that you love drive you first. Perfect place to end. Perfect episode. Nothing controversial. I didn't say one controversial thing. It was only just accuracy. That's all we had. That's all we had on this episode. Come to my show in Omaha tonight. Watch me fall off the stage. We should have played that again.
Yeah.
Whatever. So Des Moines tomorrow, jfcomedytour.com. And I will be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.